Hello and welcome to the Fishing Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Wiegmann. We are back at the house and Beaver Lake's in the background, and it couldn't be better than to have John Stein here with Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. What's your official title, John?
So it's District Fisheries Supervisor.
Yeah, good supervisor. Sounds important.
Yeah, I'm the head man in charge.
That's the person who gets all the grief and the person who gets all the rewards,
That's
right? Well, talking about that, let's talk about SWEPCO. Lake SWEPCO, always hot this time of year. People start going over there because it's a heated lake because it comes from the plant, warm water. Tell us what's going on over that way.
So SWEPCO is a 500-acre lake. Like you said, it's owned by a power plant, coal-fired power plant. It's a coolant lake, and the cool thing is about SWEPCO is it has some of the best Florida bass genetics in the state. Last time we looked at it, they naturally reproduce and do really well. They have really fast growth. We see a lot of 6-7 pound fish in there.
Wow.
And it's because the water stays warm, year round. It gets real hot in the summer, but right now, the water temp on Beaver, what is it up here? Probably 62.
62, 64. It's warmed up because we're getting 80-degree days.
SWEPCO now is probably, in the mid upper 70s, maybe in the into the 80s right now because when they're generating. And so it'll stay like when we get into the winter time, December, January, February, when you're out here fishing these, bass on Beaver Lake, it's totally different going over on SWEPCO because they could be on beds in February.
Yeah, January,
February, because we've actually seen when we've done some electrofishing, we've found 3-inch fingerling bass in March. So that's pretty amazing.
So tell us a little bit, is that a private lake? Who owns the lake, and how does the Game and Fish, how do they regulate?
So the power plant owns the lake, but they allow the Game and Fish to have a boat ramp there. We actually we own the boat ramp.
Right.
There's about 15 or 18 parking spaces on it. So it's kind of limited access. You got to get there early in the morning, most Saturdays and Sundays. So they allow the Game and Fish to manage the fishery, and it's a really unique fishery. And there, we have people that come from all over to fish it. A few years ago, there was a power line they had to work on, and I had to be out there on the lake, like running people out of a cove because they had the power line down real low. And we saw people that came over that day from Texas. We had some Oklahoma anglers, so it gets it's got a lot of notoriety about some good bass fishing, and you can catch bedding bass in January.
That's right. And so it's pretty close. Probably either Siloam Springs or Gentry is the closest town. If you're trying to find it on the map, it's shaped like Italy, isn't it?
Yep.
Shaped kind of like a boot. So tell us a little bit about how that lake lays out. Has the streams that come in, Flint Creek?
Yeah, Flint Creek. They come into the upper end of the lake, and it just flows down to the dam. And there's actually a lot of people, especially in the wintertime, they'll fish around the outflow where where they're actually pulling water and then releasing it back into the lake, and that's the hot water, and that brings in a lot of shad.
Right.
Because they're attracted to that warm water and the nutrients that are coming around, or maybe a little more algae and different things growing there.
Right.
And so the inflow or the outflow is where a lot of people target to fish in the winter months. Like I said, it draws in a lot of shad.
And so there's a eagle habitat that's up there. Do you play a part in that, or is that the city?
That's the power plant in the city of Gentry. Yeah, they have a really good eagle watch hike.
Right.
And a ton of eagles are in there in the wintertime. It's a good, that lake has a lot of gizzard shad, and we stocked threadfin shad in it for a couple years to get them going again. And so the eagles really like working on those shad in the wintertime.
So you stocked some gizzards. Didn't you stock some other forage?
Yeah, so we stocked in the past. We've stocked threadfin shad, got them reestablished. For a while, we didn't have threadfin shad in there.
Right.
Our hatchery system was able to get threadfin shad reestablished in SWEPCO.
Really?
But before we were stocking threadfin, we actually were stocking red ear and bluegill, fingerlings for forage for several years. We did try an experimental crappie stocking for 3 years in there, and we noticed that crappie are not naturally reproducing in the lake. You just don't see any real small ones.
Right.
And
I have an idea reason why, and I think too, is because those bass, they kind of like those little ones.
They probably eat them all.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard because they're up shallow.
Yeah.
For such a period of time, and when they're probably trying to get it going, the bass are also hungry.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, but a really unique lake. People come from all over to fish it. We're pretty fortunate to have it here. We are looking at doing another boat ramp to allow a little bit more.
Oh wow!
To allow a little bit more boaters to use it on a weekend. So maybe another 20 or 25, and
that'd be great.
That would make it give a little more access, because it can be pretty hard to get in there sometimes on the weekend with that small ramp.
Which road would that come off of?
We have to work with the we don't know yet. We're working with.
But I mean, is it more towards the dam area?
It would probably be more towards the top.
Yep. Towards
on the other side. I think it'd be pretty close to the Eagle Watch area. But it wouldn't be in that area. It wouldn't be on the Eagle Watch area. It'd be kind of like downstream of it. But yeah, that's where we're kind of looking right now. We got to work with the plant and see what what they would allow.
And where would the funds for that come from?
So we have it'd probably be marine fuel tax funds, which would be
which comes from, like, say, War Eagle's right over there, War Eagle Marina, but places like that sell gas. You wonder why the gas is a little higher. There's always some tax of some kind on there. So.
Right. Well, the marine fuel tax that's why it's high. That's why you're paying $5 a gallon instead of $4.
Right.
But marine fuel tax is actually part of that, and why it's higher. And that money can actually will come back to the state agencies. So we actually get a significant amount of marine fuel tax. Like $4 or $5 million a year.
Right.
To do
different projects
on boat ramps, enhancing boat ramps. We can actually do add a new boat ramp. We can pave a road to a boat ramp, and with those funding. So it's really, really good to have.
So one question I always get is, it's a private lake, so I don't have to wear my life jacket.
Nope.
That's what they say.
No,
Tell us about that.
No, they're wrong. It's the power plant owns it, but the Game and Fish is in charge of the management of the fishery and the regulations. It would be like any other lake. You have to wear a life jacket, or you have to have a life jacket within reaching, within reach of you. Yeah.
Okay. What else can you tell us about fishing over at SWEPCO? What's the deepest water that is in the reservoir?
Down by the dams, 30, 40 feet deep. But most of the time, fish are, especially in the wintertime, they're going to be shallow. They're going to be shallow. But as the water starts cooling off, they're going to start moving shallow. Right now, they're probably suspended a little bit, and because the water's still hot. But there's also some really good bluegill and red ear fishing in SWEPCO some really big ones.
They have good catfishing over there too, because every time I'm over there, someone always says, there's always someone out there, and they're like, yeah, I'm catfishing. I'm like, well, I'll bet there's giants in this, because they can just keep growing year round.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they're naturally reproducing really good, so they're getting past the bass somehow.
Well, they probably grow pretty fast on that discharge.
Yeah.
But little bit about shocking. So when's the last time you did the shocking over there? And what did you see?
It was probably 2 years ago.
2 years
ago. We did an electrofishing sample, and we see really good numbers of fish over 15 inches. We'd probably see like 40% of the fish that we caught were over 15 inches. And then pretty good numbers of fish over 18 inches. and then a few that are over 20. So some really good spread out population.
Right. So they have a lot of tournaments over there. They even have a lot of kayak tournaments over there. To have a tournament over there, is there any regulation? Like here on Beaver Lake, they have to go through the Corps office.
There is not a regulation right now on tournaments. We may be, as we do we have a fisheries management plan we're working on.
Right.
There may be something that we put in there on tournaments. You know, it gets pretty tough when you have a tournament out there and there's 20 boats and they've taken up the whole parking lot, and then people want to come in and go fishing and later in the day and they can't. That's why we're looking at doing that. Yeah, enhancing that other boat ramp, because that can be an issue. But right now there is no regulation on tournaments out there.
Would they name the next ramp after you? Would it be
no?
The existing ramp?
I'm not that high up.
The existing ramp, is it named after someone?
It is. I don't think it is. It's
isn't?
Just off. No,
because I know down here at Highway 412 at that ramp.
Yeah. So Dr. Don Rufa. Yeah. No, it's not named after anybody. It's it's the SWEPCO boat ramp.
There you go.
I'm not high enough up to get a name after, get named after something.
You have to catch some big fish.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. Talking about Beaver Lake, let's swing over to, you have a project coming up soon on Beaver Lake, and it's on this end of the lake. We are near Point 12, around the corner from War Eagle. So, so you're going to be down this way.
Yeah, we actually got funding from Bass Pro Shop to do a big fish habitat project on the White River Lakes, Beaver, Bull Shoals, and Norfolk. And that funding went to actually purchase a new barge and a skid loader that we're using in statewide fish habitat projects.
Right.
But we're going to be doing we have about 32 employees right now that are going to be coming into Beaver Lake, and we're going to be working at Montenay.
Right.
And another crew is going to be working out of Hickory Creek. And at Hickory Creek, the Corps doesn't allow us to cut trees all over the lake. So this end of the lake, we don't have many areas they're allowing us to cut trees from the shoreline.
Right.
So we're actually going to be building some porcupine cribs out of rough sawn lumber.
Right.
So we're going to be making some tall porcupine cribs out of lumber. And it's you can look them up online. They're just the Corps doesn't allow us to use PVC or any of the the plastic products. So we're going to be building about 100 of those porcupine cribs at the Hickory Creek area, and we're going to be putting them in the lake for fish habitat. We're also going to be doing some pallet structures. But then they're going to allow us to cut a few trees, I think, out of Hickory Creek Park, some cedar trees that we're going to use. Then down by Montenay, we're going to be they actually are opening up that area at the Montenay, where the Montenay boat ramp is, where the old historical stuff was. They're actually removing a couple hundred trees there and going to make a walking trail with interpretive signs, and then we'll have bank fishing areas there. But they are knocking over 200 really nice trees that they're going to open the area up, make it more park-like, and they're leaving the root balls attached, so we're going to be using all those trees to spread out and sink in the lake for that project. We figure we'll probably put at least 50 new habitat sites in that 1 week period.
Wow.
That's going to be you're looking at probably 300 trees in those sites. So yeah, we're going to have to move them around. So we may be motoring 3 or 4 miles from Hickory Creek to try to spread out the
Let me tell you what direction to come.
Yeah, you need to come south, huh?
South, south. Down here, there's plenty of places. There's some humps you should put them on. There's like 2 or 3 humps that are down that way, but 3 miles gets you down to Point 12 anyway.
Yeah. So we're going to be, that's a big project coming up, and it's going to be December 4th through the 10th. It's 2 weeks, and so we'll be working a week in this end of the lake, and then I think the other week we're going to be down by the dam in a different area. We just have to find enough trees to keep 30, or 18 or 20 people and 3 barge crews working. It's probably.
One of your barges is brand new too, right?
Yeah, and that's what the Bass Pro money.
Tell them about that one. That barge is amazing.
Yeah, the Bass Pro money bought that barge. It's a 27-foot dump barge. It has a twin 150s on it. It'll run like 38 miles an hour with 5,500 pounds of block on it. And so we can move around.
Wow.
We can put a big tree on that barge and haul it, move it 3 miles with no problem. It has a dump bed on it it's a hydraulic dump bed that runs off a generator. So you basically just pull the cord on the generator and push a button and it dumps. So it's a great piece of equipment that we have on
Is that
Beaver.
the one that has the engine faced one way and engine faced the other? Or is that
No, that was
one?
a different one. That's an older one we have that's based out of Mountain Home, where it's a pontoon type boat that was made for this. It was made by Brad, I think Tracker Marine. Bass Pro funded it. And on that one the motors turn around backwards. So when you're when you're actually, you think you're in reverse, you're in forward gear, and you can pull. I mean, it would, you could pull that tree a really big tree off the bank.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the ones that are on the bank, they're dead. How are you going to weight those down?
So we're actually a lot of, like, if we have hardwood trees like oak, if we have any oak trees, they'll sink on their own really well. We may put 1 or 2 blocks on them, but like cedar trees, we have to actually attach.
Are you using cinder blocks?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Just cinder blocks? And then the cribs that you're building, porcupines that you're building, is that cinder blocks to get that in place?
We think that it's going to be fairly new cut white oak. Yeah. Or I think white oak, so it's going to be pretty heavy. So we may not have to put much on those either. Yeah, and we're going to have to rent a telehandler, which is like a skid steer that has a fork on it that we can move out and put them onto the bar, load them onto the barges with that. So be pretty interesting project. We got a lot going on in Beaver in the next couple months.
You're hoping for good weather.
Yeah. It could be pretty miserable because, I mean, I think the first week we have like 23 people that are going to be up here. And if it's raining and if it's, we're going to be out there working because we don't want to just sit at the hotel room, all these people these biologists and staff are coming from all over the state. So a lot of times if it's raining, it's 28, 30 degrees, we're out there working in it because we don't want to just sit around. Now, if the wind's really bad, we're going to have to find, we may have to change our strategy and move to a, like maybe way up in the river arm somewhere. Yeah, it's we're hoping for good weather.
Talk a little bit about the cribs. How are they shaped in the water? So if you saw them on, say, like Live Scope, what would they look like?
Pyramid, kind of.
A pyramid.
Yeah, yeah, and so the other like the pallet structures are going to be a pyramid.
Okay.
We're going to use, there'll be a pallet on the bottom, and then they'll be put together like that, and then we're going to try to put brush in it. Like
8 to 10 feet, or how? What's the size?
We have some pallets that we got donated that are about I think they're 6 or 8 foot pallets. They're pretty big, so they're going to be. We're probably the porcupine cribs are going to be about 5 foot off the bottom and probably 5 foot in diameter.
Right.
Yeah, so we can put them in a little shallower water.
Okay. Yeah. And all those will be out in the main lake. None of them will be inside a cove.
We're probably going to put a bunch of them in coves. We're going to We're going to try to find. The issue with this area of the lake, as is when we get flooding, we've got to make sure wherever we put these, we want them to stay.
Right.
So if we put them out on a point or somewhere where they could move, they'd be totally gone. That's really defeating the point of putting them out there. So we're going to try to find spots where they won't blow out.
All right. Well, that sounds good. That takes us to Tackle Time. Tackle Time sponsored by PICO Lures. PICO Lures has all kinds of lures that you can catch fish, and it's like for structure type fish. So you can find like crappie there, just walleye. You never know what's going to be swimming around there, bass and stuff. So make sure you check them out at picolures.com. John, if they wanted to find out more or have some questions for you, how would they contact you?
They can go to we have a a Facebook page, Fisheries Northwest Arkansas.
Okay.
It's actually the Game and Fish Fisheries page they can go to. It's a
All right.
Facebook page.
Perfect.
And, yep.
There you go. So make sure you check it out. It's going to be good things are happening here in Northwest Arkansas. Always good to have you on the show, John. Like we like to end the show, make sure you keep your hook sharp and your lures in the water.